Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, Elon Musk, for the virtue of Starlink. This is the 2024 NCAA Cross Country Preview Show. We hope you're excited, folks. We just had a top agent compare Parker Wolf to the great Haile Gebrselassie. Could he pull off a shocker? Will Grant Blanks repeat? Will Halftime Samuel spoil the party? Who's going to win the crazy women's race? Oregon, NAU, BYU. What about the men? Well, Oklahoma State, they were dominant last year. Can they repeat? Or will BYU upset the party like they did at Big 12? Folks, did you just see that behind us? The Let'sRun.com flag is here. We wish we had a 22-year-old female flying it for you. Instead, it's a robot that's flying it for you, folks. We don't want to show you actually what's flying it. But thanks for joining us. We're excited to be here. It's going to be an amazing day tomorrow. We hope you're excited. It's one of the greatest events. If you've never been here, you need to come to NCAA Cross Country. It's a must-do. I'm Robert Johnson. This is Jonathan Galt. We're going to give you the inside scoop from the press event, and then much more.
Well, I hope not that much more. I mean, I'm excited to be here in Madison. I will say, anyone listening or watching back at home, you're part of one of perhaps the most ill-advised idea in the history of Let'sRun.com. At least it's maybe in the top 20. We've had a couple stinkers. It's 43 degrees right now in Madison, Wisconsin. Winds of up to 22 miles per hour. That's going to put your wind chill at about 33 degrees. And the sun, by the way, is setting in about 20 minutes. But Robert, we've spent the last half an hour setting it up to bring you live boots on the ground.
From the finish line.
Show. From the finish line, we've got the Let's Run flag. We've got a support staff behind the scenes. I hope it's worth it. I hope that our battery doesn't die or we drop the signal midway through. But I'm excited to talk about this race, Robert. You're as fired up about this cross-country race as I can remember.
It's one of the best events in the sport. So we'll try to tell you what we've learned from talking to coaches, agents, runners, etc. Let's just start with the men. We just finished up the press conference. Grant Blanks was there. We talked to Alex Gibby. I mean, when I was talking to Coach Gibby yesterday, what struck me was he seemed relaxed and confident. You know, I think he feels, honestly, that Graham Blanks is in better shape than he was last year. And I asked Graham at the press event, hey, Coach Gibby told us he thinks you're in better shape. Is that the case? Like, you know, why do you think that? What have you changed about training? And what he said was fascinating. It actually would go against the Rojo training method. He says the training doesn't change that much. I can pretty much wake up a year later, and my Garmin watch knows what workout I did a year ago, and I just look down to see, and I try to run a few seconds faster. And he's run a few seconds faster. He said it's starting in the middle of the season onwards than he did last year. So the workouts are basically by design the same workouts as last year, and he's running them faster. And I famously have told the story many times in the podcast about Rich Kadaw. When he made the Olympics in Sydney, this is the bronze medalist at the World Championships, the 800. He said he forced the workouts a little bit faster than he did before, and he thought he was better to go, and he wasn't. So that can be a tendency of repeating the same workouts. I didn't like it as a coach, but it's working well for Graham Blanks. We'll see tomorrow, I guess, finally.
Yeah, he said he was sort of nervous because he knew how fit he was towards the end of last season. Remember, he won this race with a big move with a K to go, and then a couple weeks later, he goes to BU, sets the collegiate record of 13:03 for 5K. So he knew that, you know, to top that kind of fitness, you really got to be ripping in whatever sessions, and he said he has topped it. So he's feeling pretty confident, but obviously Halftime Samuel of Eritrea in New Mexico will be very tough to beat because he beat him earlier this year on this course, beat him by about 8 seconds. He ran 26:53 this spring. So, you know, it's not going to be easy, but I don't know. We'll get to our picks a little later, but I think Blanks is feeling good. The Harvard team's feeling good about his chances.
What about Parker Wolf? Oh, by the way, folks, I guess we have him right here. The Blank shirts are here. The Wolf shirts are here. Wolf has his in hands. He's thrilled with them. We got a great photo of him with the shirts. Well, we talked to Miltenberg at the start line this morning, and we said, hey, you know, like, what's going on? What's the situation? What do you think? And he's like, you know, he missed 3 weeks in the middle of the season. And that's tough to overcome. But, you know, what shocked me was he didn't rule him out winning. He says he'll be up there. So he fully expected him.
He has a specific kind of race that
works best for him.
Which...
I said, if this is a repeat of the 2018 race, which was very slow and tactical, and it comes down to a kick, he's like, yes, that would be ideal. So he thinks, Coach Miltenberg thinks Wolf's going to put his neck in there and try to do it. And what was interesting, though, if you're a younger runner, is both Milt and will feel like he's learned a lot from this experience. Like he was almost ready to shut down the season. His dad's a physical therapist. They flew him home, and it's something about your cubic bone, and they pushed you back into place. Milt said it's like 1 in 10,000 chance that it would work. It worked. Everything's good to go.
Well, because his dad is like a foot surgeon podiatrist. He's kind of an expert in this area. So I was talking to him earlier this season. Like Milt wanted to shut his season down initially. It's like it's not worth it. You know, Milt takes a very long view with all of his athletes, and then he's like, "Nah, you know, go back to Denver, get it checked out, see what's happening." He went out there to Colorado, and the surgery apparently worked. He's back running. Perhaps not at the tip-top form he was earlier this year when he won the Nutty Comb Invitational here, but he's going to give it a go. That's what we asked for from our best athletes. So I'm excited.
The thing I view it is he's got no pressure. Cross country hasn't been his thing. He was like, what, 7th at ACCs or third. And, you know, he has an injury, so it's all upside, no downside. You know, we'll see what happens. Now, we did talk to, probably standing about 100 yards from here earlier today, a top agent. And we said, John didn't lead him on. He said, hey, give us a big, bold prediction. And he said, my big, bold prediction is that Bob Liking, Wisconsin's own, Bob Liking will be the top American tomorrow. And we're like, what? He's like, yeah, I think Graham Blanks will try to make a big move like he did last year. It'll backfire. He'll blow up. And Liking will be the top American. Now, if you don't know Bob Liking, they call him Big Ten Bob because he's won 4 Big Ten titles. I mean, what a great name, folks. But
it's a great nickname, Robert, because he's amazing at the Big Ten meet, but it's also a little derisive because he hasn't done it at NCAAs. This is a guy who ran 13:09 last year on the track while redshirting. And you would think a guy who's won 4 Big Ten cross-country titles would have been like top 10 or close to it. His NCAA finishes really haven't been very impressive at all. And Nick Byrne did say last year, you know, we didn't have any points. We needed to run well at the regional meet to qualify. He had to go out there and win it. So he didn't get to take his foot off the gas at regionals. This time around, he backed way off. He ran with his team at regionals. He's feeling rested. He's got the home course that he trains on. But Nick Byrne is expecting a big run for Big Ten Bob. Maybe Big Ten Bob becomes NCAA Bob on Saturday.
I don't think he's even been All-American before, right?
I mean, I feel like he's in the 60s a couple of years ago. I don't have the exact numbers.
Byrne said that 13:09 just totally raised his confidence. So, you know, that's exciting. In terms of other potential individual winners, John?
Well, I'd say Solomon Kipchoge of Texas Tech. Everyone knows at this point. He's a 28-year-old freshman from Kenya. He ran 59:37 in the half marathon. I think earlier this year. Obviously, this is a 10K on grass. It's not the same as half marathon. I would even say like Blanks is 13:03 and Hampton Samuel running 26:53. You could argue those marks were even superior to a 59:37, but he's going to be a contender. He was second at the Big 12 meet for Texas Tech, so he's going to be in the mix. Brian Musal of Oklahoma State could be the fittest guy in America right now. He was the Big 12 champion. He beat Hampton Samuel at the Cowboy Jamboree back in September. And remember, Samuel, it wasn't close. He beat him by, 7 seconds, something like that. And Graham Blanks lost to Samuel at Nutty Comb. So Wisconsin, the pre-nats. So if you're playing the comparison game, Brian Musal is actually ahead of all of them. And the 2 races he's really gone out to try to win this year, he has won. So the concern I have with him winning this title is he runs for Oklahoma State, and I think Dave Smith is leaning towards sort of having him run a little bit more of a conservative race to make sure he doesn't blow up and cost them the team title. So I don't think he'll win, but maybe he changes the plan and he sees the glory midway through, is feeling good and goes for it. So that's a guy to watch as well.
Let's talk about the team battle. Oklahoma State, 5 in the top 15 last year. 4 of them are back. You think they'd run away with it. They lost the Big 12 meet to BYU. I'll say, Coach Gibby seemed calm and relaxed. To me, Coach Dave Smith of Oklahoma State, he seems uptight. I don't know if uptight is the right word, but he's not relaxed. He's a little bit nervous. He told John, he's like, yeah, I think we have the best chance to win of anyone. He said this in the preseason. He said it this week, but I don't think it's greater than 50%. He needs Masoudi the NCAA 3K champ back in the day to step up, and he was like in the 30s at the Big 12 meet, right?
Yeah.
And this is a guy that needs to be top 20 here in this meet. Now, last year, Oklahoma State had two guys that finished way higher in nationals than they did at Big 12, so they've done it in the past. They could potentially do it here, and he's like, we just trained really hard. I think I overcooked last year. We recovered fine, and he held a couple guys out of regionals they thought were overcooked. I think their A game, if they run their A game, BYU doesn't touch them. And I was telling Dave, I said, I read Jonathan's preview. When I read it, I was like, I think Oklahoma State's going to win this, and I don't think it's going to be that close. But, BYU's been having a fantastic season. They've got an Olympic steeplechaser on the team. They've got a number of good guys. Ed Eyston was not at the press conference today, so we didn't get a chance to talk to him. But you talked to him early in the week, right?
I did not talk to Ed earlier in the week, no. But, I mean, the concern about BYU is that they've had very strong teams for a number of years, and I'm sort of comparing them historically, but historically they'll have a great regular season, they'll rock the regular season, they won't really be able to go reach the next level. They're not the kind of team that will have like a guy who is 30th at the conference step up and get top 20 in NCAAs. And you will see that from someone like Iowa State or Oklahoma State, or maybe even NAU might have a kid like Santiago Prosser. 2 years ago, he stepped up and saved their bacon against Oklahoma State. And BYU, traditionally, they just kind of take the regular season super serious, which I love, but it also means they don't really have another level to go to, and they might need that. If they run the same race they ran at Big 12s, but Oklahoma State runs a lot better, I think Oklahoma State beats them. I mean, remember, Oklahoma State was winning that race at Big 12s through 7K, and really this LeBron Kipkemboy fell apart the last kilometer, and that's what cost them. So that's my concern.
This will be 10K.
This will be 10K, so that could hurt him, but also, maybe if he runs, he was like leading the race midway through, and maybe if he's like back a little bit, I don't know. BYU certainly has a path to victory, but I don't know if they can score 60 or 70 on their best day, and I think that's what Oklahoma State can do. Because we saw them do it last. They scored 49 last year.
And those are the top two teams. The reason why I haven't talked to anyone else is because John's done the research. 17 of the last 19 years, number one or number two has won. The only two times it hasn't happened, that would be number three, which is...
Oh, is Arkansas number three? Who's ranked number three right now?
Someone in the chat tell us. It's either Iowa State or Arkansas. And
it's Arkansas.
We've had a couple people here talk about both teams. I mean, one guy said, hey... Andy Powell of Washington, Coach Powell, he's like, hey, I like Chris Bucknam, I like the Hogs. He's like, they're Massachusetts guys, and I didn't realize the Bucknam families and the Powell families are friends. But Arkansas's got a number of good guys, as does Iowa State from overseas. And I think if one of those two top teams has an off day, those teams are more than capable of winning it.
Yeah, well, Arkansas has three terrific front runners. They've got Yassine Abdallah, who's now in his third school. This is a guy, he got into the Olympic marathon without even a marathon time this summer for Sudan. And a lot of people are like, what the heck is he doing the race? He shows up, runs 2:11 on a brutal course, and then he comes back. He transfers from Tennessee to Arkansas, and he stepped right in, and he's had a great cross-country season. So he's going to be up there. Patrick Kiprop is a consistent guy at the front of these packs. He's been top 10 at NCAAs twice, so he'll be up there. Karami Yago. Those three are solid. The question is, can they find a 4 or 5 guy? They got two transfers, Masai and Chezidin from Akron, and they were really good at this meet last year. They've been a bit hot and cold this season. They've got Ruben Reyna, they've got Ben Shearer, who have put together some strong races in the past, but there's a bit of a question mark. So if all of their guys hit, or if like 2 or 3 of their back end hits on the day, they could be up there, because I think their top 3 will be solid. And then Iowa State, we saw it last year. They came in ranked 17th. They finished 5th. They've got a bunch of guys who have finished really high up. They've got a couple very talented Kenyan freshmen, Robin Berra, who's been running well this year, and Joash Ruto, who's an 822 steepler. Those two guys, plus, Sanelli Masondo, Rogers Kiplimo, Gable Sapira, that's a really good team. That's a podium team. I think, maybe if they really have a great day and one of the big dogs, BYU or Oklahoma State, slips, they're going to be in contention. Outside of those 4 schools we mentioned, Iowa State, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, and BYU, I really don't see a path to victory for any other team.
I agree with you. All right, Is Wilden there? Can we get him on? Let's make the men's predictions and then move to the women. I'm getting extremely cold, John. You are correct. It's damn cold out here.
Oh, I'm feeling better. If I just give me a thing of hot cocoa, I can go another hour out here. This isn't that bad.
All right, men's predictions, team-wise, I'm going Oklahoma State. No good question to my mind. I want Dave Smith to win it. He's always answers the phone when we call.
They had rooting for someone to win just because they treat journalists nicely.
It's not that. It's like they had 4 from the top 12 returning, and look, the guy that had an off day, one of the guys that had an off day at Big 12s is the NCAA individual 3K champion. Like they've got a lot of room for error here. So I just think they're going to have the low sticks, the guaranteed low sticks, which helps, and they're my pick.
Weldon, do you have any questions? How do you see this race?
I don't have any questions. I mean, I struggle with how BYU beats them, but they already beat them once this year, right? Like, that's the beauty of NCAAs, right? You really have to run your best race. And a lot of times it goes wrong for the entire team for whatever reason. And there's like zero room for error. So I'm looking here. I should pull up the poll results. 55% of Let's Run Nation, 56 almost, predicts Oklahoma State, 38% BYU, and then we're 5% Arkansas. And I guess the NAU era is over. 0.4%. You guys should have a separate podcast honoring Mike Smith.
If NAU wins it, it would be Mike Smith's greatest coaching accomplishment of his career. This team has no business.
By the way, if you haven't entered the prediction contest, do so now.
And the one other thing I would say about Dave Smith is he was a little concerned after Big 12s that he may have screwed up something with the team because it wasn't just one guy having a rough day. And the thing that he changed, what's different since then, he actually pulled the red shirt off of Adisu Guadier, who is a 28-10, 10,000 meter runner. Made the NCAA meet in the 10,000 last year, as Robert shows off our banner behind us. And Dave was hoping to keep the red shirt on him. He had his path to glory mapped out over the next couple of years. And the kids on the team came to him and said, hey, he's in really good shape. We don't want to take any chances winning this meet. We need this guy. So he's like, yeah, you're right. He ran the regional meet. I assume he will run tomorrow's race as well. So that actually does give them a bit of margin for error. If things go wrong, they've got a 28-10 guy. They just put it off the bench.
Wait, John, the only meet he's run this year is regionals?
Yes.
See, go on, come on.
So great, right?
This isn't going to be close. All right.
I'm putting up, here's the results of the poll. Those of you listening home. If you're watching live, I mean, I got Robert, John, you guys sound like you're in a wind tunnel. We'll see what the software can do, but it's amazing how much background noise and stuff it can edit out. You want this as a podcast? Join the supporters club. Let'sRun.com/subscribe. You get the second podcast every week as a podcast. I mean, in your feed, whatever. These live shows as a podcast. It's great. So here it is. Graham Blanks. Individually, 41% are picking him, 32% have to Daniel. Brian Wisconsin, then Parker Wolf, then Kipchoge, Denison Kujedic. I mean, we're down under 5%. Men's team title, as I just said, 56% Oklahoma State, 38% BYU, 5% Arkansas. So, I mean, it's pretty clear there. I mean, the team title, it's not shocking that there's 2, but I think on the individual title, I mean, let me kick it back out to Robert and them. You guys are not able to, you're muted. Are you guys sort of surprised? You really see it as a 2-person race.
What percent do they have? We didn't hear that.
41% for Blanks, 32% for Hans Samuel, and then 10% for Brian Musau, 4% for Wolf. I mean, Salomon Kipchoge is getting 3%. 1 out of 33 people are voting for him.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the season, I asked some coaches, I'm like, "Ooh, Graham Blanks versus Parker Wolf. Let's make this a thing. It's going to be exciting. 2 of America's best distance talents." They're like, and Chris Miltenberg and Alex Gibby, that coaches, were both like, "It's never a 2-person race in NCAAs. It never pans out that way." I mean, sometimes it is. We did see Galen Rupp against Sam Chalanga back in the day, but it's not always the 2 people you expect. Like, look at 2016. everyone thought, oh, Edward Cheserek, he's going for the fourth heat. You know, he's going to win. Absolutely. Turns out it was a two-person race between Pat Tiernan and Justin Knight. So going into this one, like, it could well be Graham Blanks and Hampton Samuel, the last two guys standing. But what I think is going to be very similar to what we saw last year. You're going to have a pack of about a dozen guys. You're going to see a bunch of them making moves, running fartlek style, trying to test things out, try to break people up. And it's just going to be who's strong enough and who can hold on the best. And
I think Samuel's going to try to break it over in the middle. I in terms of those odds, I think Wolf's odds are way too high. He's never been historically great. He's been like a top 10 guy, top 10-ish type guy at this meet. He's coming off an injury. I'd be shocked if he won it. But again, he has no pressure, so I think that would be cool. But yeah, I think it's probably low in some of those other people, like in terms of percentages. I mean, like Dave Smith thought Musal could make the Kenyan Olympic team, right? Last year.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't do it, but I was going to go. That's my pick, Musal of Oklahoma State. They've never had an NCAA champion. I think it's going to be a big day for Oklahoma State tomorrow. I am hesitant that they wouldn't let him go for the win, but I don't know.
I mean, you can ask him not to go for the win, but sometimes you got that, you're running the race, you got that instinct, he might just go for it anyway.
I mean, because last year there was two Oklahoma State guys that were pushing the pace in the middle of the race, so that didn't impact him last year doing badly. So I don't really see how when you're number one guy, like what's wrong with unleashing him? Like, is he really
The worry is if he's not actually the number one guy in the country, but he thinks he is, and he tries to make a move to break all these guys, he goes too hard, he banks himself, and he loses 20 places in the last K.
By the way, you got to give a shout out. If Wolf doesn't win it, he'll be young, the same age that Graham Blanks was last year when he won it. And Graham Blanks was the first American under the age of 22 to win this race in over 20 years, I think. So super impressive what Graham did. It's just super hard to repeat. I mean, we've seen obviously Clayton Young do it. I mean, Connor Mance do it recently.
They're the same person, right? That's what everyone assumes at this point.
All right, who's your pick?
I'm going with the same two guys from last year. I'm going Graham Blanks because I do think he's fitter than he was this time last year. I think he's made some gains from when he raced Hampton Samuel at Nuttycombe. Yeah, he was ninth in the Olympics. This guy's a total stud. So he's my pick for the team. Oklahoma State, we've already covered the reasons why. I just think that ceiling's they've got the highest ceiling.
We all know Harvard guys are soft in cold weather, but I think Kenyans might be softer, man. I got to do it. I got to pick Graham Blanks. And team title, Oklahoma State. All right, let's turn to the women. It is getting dark there. You guys are looking cold.
I'm good, man. I'm fired up.
I'm sort of surprised by these poll results. Well, I'll just let you guys speak, and then I'll throw these results out there.
Okay, for the women's, John put me in charge of the women's team analysis and the women's preview, basically. And I thought when I wrote the women's article that doing the research, there's three teams that are Oregon, BYU, and NAU. I thought it would be clear who was the favorite after doing the research, and it was not clear to me at all. Like, you've got Oregon, they've got like a 3:59, 1,500-meter woman as like their fourth or fifth runner. They've got the incredible track times, but they've only have two women who have ever finished in the top 100 of this meet. They don't have a lot of experience here. Their number one runner didn't even make this meet last year for South Carolina, so that makes me nervous. BYU is almost a carbon copy of them. Like, they've got some track success, but only two women have been in the top 100. You know, that would make me nervous if I was her. NAU, on the other hand, they started the season number one, hadn't been running great, but they didn't have everybody running their season. They've got Elise Stearns back, and you know, they've got a lot of experience. Four women in the top 100.
Well, concern though, because Mike Smith did say Allison Churchill, the Florida State transfer who ran 15-17 last year, she's not going to be running the meet for them tomorrow. So that's one of the studs they were counting on. She hadn't run at conference or regionals.
Yeah, so I wasn't. When I did my preview, I wasn't expecting her in there anyway. So I don't think I had her as one of the four in the top 100.
Okay.
Because I think I'd already ruled that out when I did my preview. So that to me didn't stun me. But so you can make. And I asked Mike right before the press conference. I said, "Hey, is that how you see it?" He said, "Yeah, we've got experience, and it's going to be a lot of points. Like the fifth runner might be 60th or 70th, and if you're out in 100th place, do you feel sorry for yourself and pack it in and go backwards?" Or if you're surrounded by other people, or do you move up and get into 60th and win the team title? Like, it's going to be a lot of points, almost certainly over 100, and that makes it really hard to predict. But when I asked DLG Taylor in the formal press conference about this, she's like, yes, you're right. They don't have the experience. And what was the quote? It was
Well, she was basically like, they don't have the experience until they do, but tomorrow's a great day to get it. Something along those lines. So I'm with her. Robert's whole approach is like, if you haven't run the NCAA cross country championships before, you're in a huge disadvantage. I'm like, these kids are only in college for 4 years, so they only get to run this meet 4 times. Some of them 5, though, if you were a COVID kid. And yeah, it's like, okay, someone who ran 27 minutes for 10,000 meters on the track, they're not going to be a good cross country runner. Find me the kid who can't do that. Like it usually translates.
It's a nuanced take of me. I think it's more of an issue, not if you're a stud. If you're in the top 10, running in the top 10 of every race is the same. It's just you're in the top 10. But when you're in the 50s and 60s, you're surrounded by 100 people. That's not something normally good runners are used to. So it can be a little bit thing. But I love Diljeet Taylor. By the way, we had the whole press conference up. She made fun of the men. I saved the press conference. I'm the most liberal feminist journalist out there. People were asking the men, just men questions, and I asked Diljeet Taylor a question, and she made some comments. She's like, finally, someone asked me a question. I was like, yes, thank you, Diljeet. But she said, I like this motto. She's like, I've been telling the women, our motto for the year is embrace the imperfect. She's like, it's not going to be perfect out there. I just love that coaching. Like, you might lose a shoe, you might fall down, you might slip, whatever. Don't panic. Expect it, and then you don't freak out. And I really think that the way she reaches these young women, and she said, I want them to be great runners, but I want them to be great women. And if I was like, had a daughter and was, it would be really hard to turn down Diljeet Taylor, I think, in the recruiting process. She has them over for dinner. She just seems really to be involved in their lives and a huge impact. So she's obviously, had great success too in terms of performance, but it is cool to just talk to her at these things.
Yeah, she's created a great culture. And I think one thing, I talked to one person who knows her pretty well at the press conference and said that she has a chip on her shoulder the size of Mount Rushmore because, she's really never satisfied. And I think the one thing, this meet last year, BYU is expected to contend for the podium. They went out too hard and they totally bombed. They finished 14th. And Diljeet Taylor was like, it kind of broke me almost. She was like, how did this happen? One of the things she prides herself on is her teams always perform well at championships, that they rise to the moment, and they didn't do it. And she was like, is this on me? Like, what happened? And she took responsibility. She talked to her mentor, Frank Gagliano. She just helped to talk her through it. I feel like it took her a little while to get over that, but now she's sort of grown and accepted, like, look, sometimes it might not be perfect, but yeah, I think she's probably mentally prepared to deal with it if it goes badly tomorrow, but I think she's also like approaching the season a bit differently. So there is some redemption on the line for BYU and Diljeet Taylor after the disaster of 2023.
All right. Individually, I said there's 3 women that could win, all from Kenya. Pamela Kosgei, Bridget Kosgei's younger sister, the freshman at New Mexico. To me, she's the favorite. She was 3rd at World Juniors. I mean, look at the women that finished right ahead of her and right behind her. One of them is an Olympic bronze medalist. One of them's run 14:16. Like, it's a massive talent to get that high. And then, the other options there would be Doris Limgall of Alabama. She ran 14:40 in the roads before even setting foot at Alabama. She was 2nd last year, SEC champion. Now, Kosgei beat her earlier in the year, so that's why I said Kosgei deserves to be the favorite. And then you've also got
Hilda Alemomoy of Florida, who was NCAA runner-up in the 5K and 10K. She was 2nd behind Lemgol at the SEC meet. Former teammate, Alabama transfer. She's now at Florida. I think those are the 3. They're all fantastic track runners. Well, I guess Pamela Kosgei actually hasn't run that much of the track, but we've seen what she is capable of. She broke the course record on this course at the pre-nationals meet back in October. So yeah, I think it's between one of those 3, and it's honestly, Robert, was it you who was asking me, or maybe it was someone else was asking, like, who's going to be the top American woman in this race? Like, is there anyone who could factor in? And someone started a thread on it. It was like, oh, Chloe Thomas from UConn, she might be the top American. It's like, nope, she's Canadian. Kaylee McCabe, Canadian. So it's actually a pretty interesting question. I don't know. I think you saw how good they were last year with Caitlin Toohey and Parker Valby, and that's just a lot of talent to replace. So the first American might be a fair ways down. Maybe not even in the top 10, but step up. I hope someone proves me wrong.
All right. Should we make the predictions?
I'm ready.
I think I'm going to go. for the last, and I apologize to Dave, for years I've been rooting against. Look, when Weldon was one of like 5 people training at altitude in 2000, and we started Let's Run at Flagstaff, there was hardly anyone there, honestly. Like NAU was the plucky upstart, and we wanted to run man just for them to be top 15. But recently they've been dominating the NCAA, and it's been like boring. And I've been rooting against NAU on the mid side. But I want Mike Smith. When I started that preview, I thought he's not getting the storybook ending, and now I think that he really could. And I think those women. My prediction is Mike Smith goes out on top. Not on the men's side, but on the women's side, they win it. I just think they've got experience. They're going to have one low stick in Stearns. I don't know. I've been rooting against Mike for too long. He's been too great for the sport, and this is his final cross country meet as a collegiate coach, and I just think that would be cool. So that's going to be my pick. Yes, I am worried about the lack of cross country experience. I guess maybe you might say the Olympic 359 runner is not going to be worried about not having performed in this meet. So are you going to pick Oregon or are you going to pick BYU?
I am going to pick Oregon. I think they're the most talented team. If I go down, it's like they don't get it done. Okay. But I think they can have 2 in the top 10. I really don't see that from either BYU or NAU. And I think that's an enormous advantage. It's basically, if you can do that, you're really only scoring 3 runners. And, you know, they've got enough talent. Like if you're relying on a 359 woman, it's like you're 4 or 5, you're in a pretty good spot. So I think between Shalon Aildiz, we learned that's how you pronounce her name. The top runner from Oregon, the Big Ten champion from Turkey, you pronounce that name Shalon. She's coached by Shalane Flanagan. So also how crazy would it be Shalane Flanagan, Olympic medalist on the track, you know, a New York City Marathon champion. Then she steps in and like year 3 in the NCAA, she coaches the team to the women's title. That's pretty impressive stuff if she can do that. So I like Oregon's talent. And I like BYU more than NAU of the other group. But the problem is BYU, Jenna Hutchins, who was one of their best runners, she hasn't raced recently. It seems very unlikely that she'll be running tomorrow, and that's going to hurt them. They've got other women who can step up. But, you know, if the winning score, like Oregon, I could see them scoring closer to 100. The other 2 teams would probably be up in the 120s, 130s, 140s on a good day, which could be enough to win. But yeah, I'm going Oregon and I'm going Pamela Koskei.
All right, guys, I'm putting up the results here from the prediction contest. You can still enter today. I was sort of shocked. 61% of people are going BYU. Does that seem high to you guys? I mean, maybe it's a question also, if it's coming down to the 5th runner, who's got a better 6? Who's got more room for error there, essentially? Like, if you have a backup at 5, 6, and 7, that could help. And also, apologies, I just went on Instagram, but I see Lars Laros is joined. You know whose brother that is? Everybody. Niels Laros' brother is on the podcast or on the show. Welcome to him.
Isn't Laws at Wingate? Is he still there? Like, don't they have D2 Nationals tomorrow and he's listening to the show? Is he running or is he an alum?
Well, that's what I'm confused. I don't see him at the regional result, but I see him 3rd place at the conference. Anyway, we love you and the family and your brother. I wonder if I assume he'd have listened to the podcast too in the car. In case you guys don't know, they used to drive around Europe, parents making them listen to the Let's Run.com Track Talk podcast. So BYU's getting 61% for those listening on the podcast. Northern Arizona, 20%. Oregon, only 16%. Maybe I'm just biased or something. I just think like Oregon has to have a better chance. They're very strong. Am I giving Shailene Flanagan the benefit of the doubt? Yes. Individually, Pamela Koskei, huge favorite, 55%. Then Doris Lemkel, 21%. Hilda Illinois, 8%. Celia McCabe, 5%. So I agree with that. I mean, Koskei's definitely the favorite. There's like very little question mark there. I don't know how you pick against her. Obviously, could somebody upset her? Yes. I mean, we saw the Jenny Simpson, who just completed 7 marathons and 7 continents, coming back for that year to run NCAAs and just completely, absolutely bombing. So that is possible.
Well, yeah, anything can happen. Like I said, Cheserek won 3 straight and then got 3rd as a senior. That's no one saw that coming. And I wonder, you know,
was that the end, John? Was that the downfall for Cheserek right there?
He did well. He came back from that meet and he won the 5K and the 3K at NCAA indoors, but he did get crushed by Josh Kerr in the mile. in NCAA indoors that following winter. Granted, Josh Kerr turned out to be a pretty good miler, so I don't think there's much to be ashamed of there. The lights are coming on behind us. The sun has set in Madison, and you know what? Maybe the final takeaway is this: winning an Olympic silver medal and winning the New York City Marathon was not enough for the Johnson brothers to learn how to pronounce their names, but maybe if Shalane Flanagan can coach a team to an NCAA cross title, they will learn how to pronounce her name properly, because we had a Shalane just a few minutes ago on the podcast.
Was that me, John?
That was you, Weldon.
It slightly sounded weird, but I'm like, no, that's not how I say it. Shalane Flanagan, I know how to say her name.
It's a Texas
I was shocked. I was like, did I hear that right? What came out of my mouth? Because I
stuck out. Yeah.
Okay, let's share a few other tidbits that we learned. We were talking.
And also, wait, if you're just joining, sorry for the audio, people. It is a little bit crazy, but it'll get cleaned up in the podcast. You won't even hear the background noise. The software is amazing. Join today. Let'sRun.com/subscribe. All right, Robert.
They won't appreciate if they're listening to it on a podcast, though. We braved the elements for you. The wind chill in the 30s.
We wore a Let's Run flag.
Of course, Let'sRun.com is live in Madison, Wisconsin. Well, Verona, actually, the Thomas Civic course.
Did Robert go buy a Starlink today?
He did. Like, Robert I don't really like stress. I don't know who does. And Robert, the whole afternoon, we were driving all across the state of Wisconsin to find an internet setup and get lunch and make it back to the course in time for the press conference, which we barely did by the skin of our teeth and my skillful driving.
So we need six of you to sign up for Supporters Club now to pay for the Starlink, folks. Come on.
But we're not even on it, right? This is so Let's Run. Robert calls me 3 minutes before we're supposed to start. There's a wind tunnel. We're not blocking the wind, but we have a Starlink that we're not even using. Thank you, Elon Musk.
They had no Wi-Fi, but then the Wi-Fi started working. They're the same speed. I wanted to save my money because, anyways. But a few other tidbits. So we did talk to someone, and I said, "What do you?" A lot of debates who's the better pro prospect: Parker Wolf, Graham Wakes, or even Nico Young, who now is pro. And Wolf's kick is hard to going hard to bet against. So,
Can you turn sideways or something? The wind's just killer all of a sudden.
He reminds me of. Sounds like he reminds me of Hallie Celestian, his body type. I was like, well, that's a good comp. So that was interesting.
Well, you knew Robert would buy into that because Robert is obsessed with body types and all of that sort of stuff.
Because I had another coach last in the spring tell me, oh, Parker, like the average American is he's like, he's too short. I'm like, well, most of the Africans are short. He's like, no, the average American runner has got a tall fulcrum, like a tall legs is what he said. But one other thing that was interesting, folks. If you live and work in Beaverton, you might want to be sitting down, folks. This is going to be hard. If you work for the Swoosh, you don't want to hear this, but folks, we've spotted Galen Rupp wearing Adidas gear just all over, folks. Galen Rupp, yes, is dressed in Adidas, folks. He's the volunteer assistant at NAU, and he's got his Nike shoes on, I think. But he was wearing, the NAU official team gear sweatshirt. It was NAU. Adidas.
Was it? I didn't see that.
Yeah, we saw it.
Okay, I saw an NAU hat. That's really all I saw. But it was funny. It was like he's walking around. He's got like 2 backpacks over his shoulder, schlepping around the team gear. This is like one of America's finest distance runners, just happily showing up to the NCAA meet to help carry bags for stuff. But I mean, Jay Simpson used to do that for Colorado too. So it's crazy.
Has he moved the family to Flagstaff, or is he just there?
But his wife, by the way, is a saint. They have 4 kids. She's just apparently let him go to Flagstaff and train. He's training himself, trying to get back in shape and healthy, and coach the team, volunteer. So, to me, I don't think he'd be doing this unless he's serious about getting in the coaching game. And if you told me 10 years ago that Galen Rupp will end up being a college coach, I probably would have laughed at you. But no, I'm not laughing anymore. He's amazing on the broadcast, which no one would have thought. He used to be very shy, not talk to the media, was sort of antagonistic towards the media. He's very good. He seems much more personal than people gave him credit for. And Mike's like, yeah, he's not. Once he's comfortable with the kids, he's not afraid to get down there and tell them how to do the drills or whatever, and give them advice. So I credit to him. I think it's cool. I am still amazed at his wife. Mike's like, yeah, he flew home like 2 weekends to see the kids. So the wife deserves a crazy props for letting Galen do that, but that's cool.
I mean, I agree with Robert. Galen's transformation as an announcer in the New York City Marathon is amazing. just coming out of the show. Like, I guess he came of age as a kid, and then maybe it just made sense. He was suspect of the media. I mean, people say, "Oh, let's run, blah blah blah, sexist, racist, blah blah blah." Galen Rupp, I hate that because like people can be mean to anyone. Galen Rupp got the brunt of it on Let's Run. Like, if anyone else does, few people probably deserve apologies in Let's Run. He's one of them. So it's good to see this. And at first, Robert had me worried. Well, guys, in Northern Arizona, sponsored by Adidas, so he has to wear that stuff. That makes sense. He's obviously still with Nike.
All right. Last bit, unrelated NCAAs. We talked to Stephen Haas, the coach and agent. He said Wayne Colati's going to try to run the Houston half and just obliterate the American record. Really wants to put it down there. So that could be exciting things to look forward to. Folks, NCAA cross country is great, but we're almost with track season. We still got Valencia Marathon next weekend. It's a great time to be a running fan because we're going to have the December BU meet. People are already talking about that. Who were we talking to? Said,
why are you okay, yeah, cool stuff's happening. This is NCAA cross country weekend, people.
I know, but I'm just saying.
It's one of the best days of the entire year. 9:20 a.m. Central Time is the start of the women's race. So get here. Mick Byrne said they've sold 5,000 tickets.
I think it's sold
for
out.
the meet, but he also said Wisconsin fans have creative ways of bypassing security of getting on the course. He's thinking there'll be 8,000 or 9,000 people finding a way onto the course here tomorrow. And yeah, if it's anything like it was last time in 2018 when they hosted this meet, the atmosphere is going to be amazing. We've got 2 Let'sRun.com flags. Still looking for flag bearers if you're interested in carrying them around. We'll have blank shirts and wolf shirts on the course. It's going to be such a great day. I can't wait for it all to unfold.
Well, someone there possibly saw the flag bearer's head, so I don't know if that's a sign. If he's trying to stay quiet because he works elsewhere in the industry, but we saw him. But I think it's a sign. It's like the Grim Reaper. When the flag comes out, it's time to end the show. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. If you enjoyed this and you want it as a podcast, Let'sRun.com/subscribe. So you guys can do a show tomorrow live at 6 in the morning? Who knows? Later, everybody.